Okay, so get this. We're diving into like a real political thriller today, a deep dive into attacks on Alexei Navalny's team
Right.
and the alleged mastermind. Well, let's just say it might surprise you.
Yeah, it's a story that really makes you think twice about, power dynamics
For sure.
and opposition, even in exile.
Exactly right. You sent over a bunch of news articles from Latvia.
Hmm.
Plus, there was this really intense YouTube investigation.
Yeah.
And they all touch on these attacks on Navalny's team.
Right.
But here's the thing, the real kicker. These attacks, they happened after his death.
Yeah, which, immediately raises questions, right?
Right.
Was this the Kremlin, tying up loose ends?
Yeah.
Some kind of power grab within the opposition itself.
Yeah.
I mean, the initial assumption, at least everyone thought it had to be Putin's forces behind it.
Right. I mean, it makes sense. It's
Yeah.
chilling to think that even after everything, they were still targets.
Yeah.
I mean, take Leonid Volkov, for instance.
Right.
He was a key player on Navalny's team.
Absolutely.
And he barely survived that brutal hammer attack in Vilnius.
Yeah, broken arm, leg injuries.
Oh, wow.
It was meant to send a message, that's for sure.
Definitely.
And for a while, it seemed like, an open and shut case.
Right. Until, boom.
This YouTube video drops.
Yeah.
And it completely flips the script.
Totally.
And not just any video. This expose came straight from Navalny's team.
Wow.
They present a whole new suspect, someone nobody was expecting. Leonid Nevzlin.
Talk about a plot twist. We're
Like-
talking billionaire, former right-hand man to Mikhail Khodorkovsky,
Mhm.
living it up in exile. How does this guy go from, Putin critic to allegedly orchestrating attacks on his fellow exiles? Help us unpack this.
Okay, so Nevzlin, he's a fascinating character.
Yeah.
He was essentially Khodorkovsky's, right hand during the Yukos years.
Yeah.
A senator, university rector, a man of serious influence in Russia.
Wow.
He even claims to have, legally acquired Khodorkovsky's assets after, Yukos went under.
So their connection, it was deeper than just business partners.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
But here's where it gets interesting. See, after fleeing Russia, settling in Israel,
Yeah.
Nevzlin went through, a major image change.
Yeah, he went from this, polished political figure to, well, his online presence now. Something else.
It's a different story.
Extreme anti-Russian statements almost, like unhinged rants.
Yeah.
It's quite a departure from the composed guy we saw back during, the Yukos days.
Exactly. It's almost like he's trying to erase his Russian past entirely, by embracing this new persona fueled by, let's just say, an intense animosity towards Russia.
Wow.
He even says he no longer identifies as Russian.
Wow.
Yeah.
But as we're going to dig deeper here,
Yeah.
it seems Nevzlin might not be as detached from Russian affairs as he wants everyone to believe.
Not at all.
Uh-oh.
And that's where the real intrigue begins.
So we've got this, billionaire exile publicly denouncing Russia, right?
Right.
But then this whole other side emerges, maybe pulling strings in the shadows.
Yeah.
But how did Navalny's team even discover any of this?
It sounds like, honestly, something straight out of a spy novel, right?
Yeah.
They got this, cryptic email urging them to, investigate these attacks further
Okay.
and offering a meeting with an informant who, and get this, claimed to have, real inside information.
And they took the bait?
Well, wouldn't you?
I mean...
Especially given everything going on.
Yeah, true.
This informant, Andre Matis, he presented himself as a problem solver.
Okay.
Someone who operates in this, murky underworld of Russian power brokers.
Wow.
He claimed to have worked for both Khodorkovsky and Nevzlin, which, come on, red flags, right?
Okay, so wait, let me get this straight.
Yeah.
This modest guy shows up claiming to be, a fixer for
Yeah.
these incredibly powerful figures, and then just, points the finger at Nevzlin for the attacks.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's a lot to process.
It is.
Yeah.
And to their credit, Navalny's team, they didn't just take his word for it.
Oh.
They needed hard evidence, something, to back up these wild accusations.
Did they find anything?
More than you might expect.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Remember those attacks we talked about?
Yeah.
On Jordanov and Petrachkova?
Uh-huh.
Matru, he actually provided the team with videos
What?
of those attacks.
No way.
But here's the thing. They were filmed from the attacker's perspective.
Whoa. Okay, that's a game changer.
Yeah, it was huge.
No.
We're not talking, grainy security footage here.
Right.
But first-person accounts of the attacks.
Wow.
If authentic, I mean, that's pretty damning evidence.
Yeah, but could they even be verified?
That's where the real detective work comes in, right?
Yeah.
Navalny's team, they meticulously cross-referenced, like, everything.
Wow.
Details from the videos with public information, timestamps, locations, I mean, everything.
That's amazing.
They even went so far as to analyze Nevzlin's writing style,
Really?
his punctuation,
Oh.
even his use of emojis, comparing them to the messages Modis provided.
Hold on, they analyzed his emojis. That's some next level investigation.
It sounds strange, but honestly, those details matter.
I guess so.
And what's fascinating is that they found consistency.
Really?
Yeah, the writing style, the timing, even the content of the messages, it all lined up with Nevzlin's known patterns.
Wow. Okay, so the messages, they seem legit.
Yeah.
But what about motive? Why target Navalny's team in the first place?
Right.
And where does Khodorkovsky fit into all of this?
Those are the million-dollar questions, right?
Yeah.
The messages themselves, they don't really reveal a clear motive.
Okay.
And there's no, like, smoking gun directly implicating Khodorkovsky.
Yeah.
However,
there
are these hints of a power struggle.
Okay.
Perhaps even jealousy over Navalny's, enduring influence, even in death.
So we've got, like, a potential power play within the Russian opposition, but orchestrated from abroad.
It seems that way.
What does this say about the movement as a whole?
It's a sobering thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have these individuals who are, supposedly united
Right.
against a common adversary,
Right.
yet they're seemingly engaging in the same tactics of intimidation and silencing dissent.
It makes you wonder what else is going on beneath the surface.
Yeah.
And speaking of things lurking below the surface,
Right.
what about those Latvian news articles you mentioned earlier?
Mm-hmm.
How do they tie into all of this? So we're talking about potential power struggles, shadowy figures, and these Latvian news articles you mentioned.
Right. So these articles you sent, they dig into Nevzlin's activities in Latvia.
Okay.
And honestly, they paint a kind of disturbing picture.
Really?
Yeah, it's someone who's, like, used to getting their way, no matter the cost, They uncovered, like, attempts to manipulate media coverage.
Really?
Smear campaigns against other oligarchs.
Wow.
Even allegations of bribery.
No kidding.
And influencing, like, legal processes and stuff.
Wow. Okay, so it's starting to sound like a pattern here.
Right.
So we're not just talking about, like, a personal grudge against Navalny's team.
No.
But a broader attempt to, like, control the narrative.
Yeah, exactly.
Even amongst those who, oppose Putin.
It seems that way.
That's kind of disturbing.
Yeah, it's the unsettling implication, right?
Yeah.
It suggests that even within, the opposition,
Right.
there are those who prioritize, like, power and control over, unity and democratic ideals.
Right. And at the center of all this is Andrei Modis.
Right.
The self-proclaimed problem solver.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about this guy?
Modis is a fascinating, albeit, troubling character.
Right.
He seems to operate in the shadows, right?
Yeah.
Leveraging these connections and resources to just, like, make problems disappear.
Wow.
For the right price, of course. He's reported to have ties to the FSB.
Okay.
And a reputation for using, well, whatever means necessary.
Wow.
Bribes, intimidation, even framing people. Seriously.
Oh, yeah, to get the job done.
So a real fixer with a flexible moral compass.
You could say that.
Why would someone like that turn on Nevzlin, though?
Right.
What's in it for a guy like that?
It seems like a mix of factors.
Oh, well.
According to Modis, at least, he was left with, like, all these unpaid debts.
For real?
Yeah, from orchestrating those attacks,
I see.
But there was also this element of self-preservation. It's possible he actually feared becoming, Nevzlin's next target if he didn't speak up, So a combination of greed and fear.
Precisely.
Wow.
It's a potent cocktail, right?
Yeah.
And while we can, question Modis's motives and his credibility for sure, the sheer volume of evidence he's provided, especially when, it's corroborated with these other sources, it paints a compelling, albeit disturbing picture.
Yeah, it's a reminder that sometimes even the most, like, unlikely sources can expose, really inconvenient truths.
Absolutely.
Where does this leave us?
That's the question, isn't it?
What happens next?
Right.
Will Nevzlin ever face any real consequences for this?
Right.
And what about Khodorkovsky?
Yeah.
What about his potential involvement in all of this?
Those are the million-dollar questions, and unfortunately, there aren't any easy answers.
It's an ongoing story.
Yeah.
Lots of threads still unraveling,
Yeah.
Whether Nevzlin faces any legal repercussions, I mean, who knows?
Right.
Remains to be seen.
Yeah.
And while the evidence against Khodorkovsky, it remains circumstantial.
Right.
This whole situation, it definitely casts a shadow.
For sure.
On his, carefully cultivated image.
Right.
As this champion of democracy.
Right. It definitely raises questions about,
yeah,
who to trust, even within, the opposition.
Yeah, for sure.
What does all this mean for the future of the Russian opposition movement as a whole?
That's the unsettling thought we're left with, isn't it?
Yeah.
This infighting,
right.
These allegations of, shadowy tactics being used.
Right. It really undermines the movement's credibility.
Yeah.
And it could really hinder their ability to, to present a united front against Putin's regime.
So, for our listeners out there, what's the takeaway here?
That's a good question.
What should they be, thinking about after this deep dive?
Well, I think this whole situation just really underscores, how important critical thinking is.
Right.
And seeking out multiple perspectives.
Yeah.
Don't just, accept information at face value.
Right.
Especially when it comes to, these complex political situations.
Yeah.
Dig deeper, question people's motives, and just be wary of anyone who claims to have all the answers.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Because, in reality, things are rarely black and white.
Right.
There are, often layers of intrigue and these hidden agendas at play, right?
Yeah.
Even, and perhaps especially in the world of politics.
Yeah, for sure. Well, on that note, this has been a fascinating, if not a little unsettling look into, the world of Russian opposition politics.
Absolutely.
So thanks for, taking us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
And to our listeners, stay curious out there.
Yes.
Ask the tough questions.
Please do.
And be wary of those who try to, silence dissent, no matter their political affiliation.
Exactly.
Until next time.